What's good, fam? We're going to look tonight at Law 4 of the 48 Laws of Power. Always say less than necessary. Be ambiguous and open-ended, vague and indirect. Leave room for misinterpretation when you speak, so that you can misdirect and confuse those who have set themselves up as your opposition, so that you can win the competition against the other illusionary egos that you measure yourself against as you run in circles in eternity. Just blowing time. Come on, let's look at it. Right out the gate, we can dismantle this passage with pure definitions. Facts. What is the definition of necessary? The definition of necessary is required to be done, required to be achieved, required to be present, needed, essential. So if you take Robert Greene's advice to present yourself as an illusionary figure of power in an illusionary experience on a physical plane inhabited by divine beings universally asleep to their identity, you would be literally taking the advice to say less than needed, less than is essential, less than is required, less than necessary. And necessary to what? Necessary to effectively communicate yourself, necessary to peacefully navigate through the physical plane, necessary to connect and encourage and edify and motivate and love those around you. To be real, most of us do not need the advice to be vague, to be indirect, to be open to interpretations, to be easily misinterpreted or misunderstood, because most of us were never taught to effectively communicate. Most of us never sat ourselves down and dealt with the fact that before somebody else finishes the sentence that they're speaking, we're already preparing our statement to counter, deflect, and defend ourselves against the seeming attack of another person's spoken word and opinion and perspective and interpretation. Understand, you are never, ever in danger when you are in the face of another person's perspective or you're in the face of another person's interpretation. All you're being confronted with is what they believe to be true, what they believe that they know based on the way they interpreted or processed the interaction between you and them and assessed it in comparison to their past experiences, so that they can label it something that they're comfortable with and feel like they know. Look at the way we communicate and look at the way we use our words, especially when we're in conflict with somebody. We don't open our mouth and communicate effectively when somebody has struck a nerve or somebody has hurt our feelings, and we don't typically go to that person and say, hey, at 3:07 when you said X, Y, and Z, it made me feel like this, and when I felt like that, I didn't appreciate it. Could you not do that moving forward? Could we find a solution to maybe deal with when you have an issue with me in a way that is not disrespectful? No, we go to that person with, hey man, you pissed me off. You made me mad. You always be talking crazy. You always be running your mouth. And we speak in absolute terms and we tell absolute fabrications, because there is nobody in your life that is always mistreating and misusing you that you continue to connect with. At some point, that person that you swear is always doing something to cause you harm or cause you conflict, at some point in their connection with you, in their interaction with you, you are just as convinced as you are that they are your issue, that they are your solution in another area of your life, or you wouldn't be connected to them. And that's just how we rock out when we're selfishly pursuing the satisfaction of the body that we think we are. Just being real, there are a few reasons why you would not effectively communicate the truth of yourself. One, the presence of competition. You're not going to tell somebody who you believe to be an enemy or believe to be in opposition to your selfish, successful pursuit the details of your plan and the inner workings of your imagination. You're not going to be open. You're not going to be honest with them. You're going to try to mislead them because you're trying to beat them to a imaginary finish line. You're trying to break a tape that doesn't even exist. You're trying to clock a world record when nobody is in the stands and nobody has a stop clock. Nobody is on the track but you and the imaginary beings that you have placed around you to compete with, because you learned early that you can use your competitive nature to drive you to do things out of a sense of wanting to accomplish things to be seen as superior to others. You will take yourself through hell. You will sacrifice. You will work yourself into a hole to accomplish something, not even because it has extreme value for you or you plan to utilize it in such a way where it will produce extreme value for you. You work yourself in holes and you work yourself ragged into the bone out of a competition of the egos around you who are doing the exact same thing, trying to find a way to outdo everybody around them so that they can be celebrated while saying they do not like to be applauded. The second reason that we do not effectively communicate ourselves, if the first reason does not apply, and sometimes it's a mixture of both, and sometimes it's all of the reasons, and sometimes it's something else. You have to go inside of yourself to assess what it is and why it is that you choose to mislead and misdirect the people around you. But there are only a few options, factually speaking. One is competition. Two is the lack of concern and the lack of consideration for other people. When you are so selfishly centered on your own pursuit and your own success and your own satisfaction, to take the time out to stop pursuing your satisfaction and stop pursuing your success to communicate a truth to someone else that does not lead you closer to your imaginary successful moment, but helps them get closer to what they are trying to achieve. You're not going to stop tending to you to tend to them when you believe that you're out here on your own and everything that you do and everything that you get is based upon your own merit and your own striving. You don't feel like you have time to stop and be nice, stop and communicate, stop and be thorough and edify and motivate and encourage and enrich. You ain't got time for that. You trying to win. You on the court trying to make sure you drop a dub. You on the court trying to make sure you get your points, trying to make sure you get your highlight, trying to make sure you get your scholarship. And you're no good to the team. You're a ball hog. You're selfish. And the third most common reason why we do not effectively communicate is just a mere ignorance of how to do so. Most of us were not communicated with as children as we were developed and we grew into adulthood. Most of us were talked at, not so much talked with as children. We were told what to do. We were controlled. We were directed out of a sense of fear to keep us safe and get us into adulthood. But when we landed in adulthood, we seen that because there was a lack of communication, because of an ignorance of the generation before us that brought us up, we seen that we don't have certain skills as adults to be successful in the adult field. If you can't effectively communicate yourself, good luck building relationships. If you can't effectively communicate yourself, good luck conducting yourself in peace on your job and in your house and with your friends. If you can't effectively communicate yourself, good luck even getting your food delivered to you the way you wanted it exactly and the way you saw it. Good luck getting anything out of life and in life if you can't effectively look at the picture on the inside of yourself and describe it out loud, calling it into the physical presentation. In the past, we have definitely operated from a position of discretion, a position of withholding truth from those around us and being completely honest and transparent. But why have we done such a thing? What paradigms do we hold about other people or in the reflections that we encounter on the day-to-day that causes us to feel that we need to protect ourselves from them? What is it that you know about you that causes you to move with discretion and hesitation when you extend yourself to another person in front of you? Is it because you believe that people aren't to be trusted? Is it because you believe people can be harmful and dishonest and misleading and manipulative and deceiving and use the information that you give them from a position of transparency to harm you or embarrass you or humiliate you or lead you to shame or separate you from the social groups that the two of you mutually share? Could it be that you are afraid that this person may exhibit a wickedness that you are familiar with from your own behavior and your own interactions with the people that you have extended yourself to in the past? As long as you're afraid of them screwing you over, you better believe you're going to keep the screwdriver in your hand, and the first thing you do when you connect with somebody is screw into them before they can screw you. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Nobody has sold you out and betrayed you and misled you and misidentified you and talked wrongly about you publicly in a humiliating and shameful way than you when you're a partner with the miscreation of your ego. Think about the things that you do and the things that you say. You could do something, make a natural mistake, and it'll fly out of your mouth quicker than you'll say it to somebody else. I'm so stupid. You see what I just did? I'm so dumb. I'm not speaking on myself like that. I made a mistake, and one mistake don't define me. I had a moment where I missed the mark, but I operate from a field of grace. I was given forgiveness before I ever dropped the ball. I was offered free relationship so that I'd have the opportunity to make a mistake and make a correction, adjust and adapt, apply truth and knowledge and right understanding where there was once error and there once was enmity with truth and with my Creator. You talking riddles and in pieces with people when you encounter them because you think that it's possible that they could rob you of the opportunity, or they could take your great idea that you've conjured up in your imagination that is filled of nothing but your past experiences. You think that there's so much value there that you need to mislead people away from the contents of it. You think that if they get a hold of the contents of it, they just might take it, run with it, and strive and be successful with something that you created and something that you came up with that had value for you. But the craziest thing is, nobody has robbed you of an opportunity or of success or of moments of celebration and joy more than you when you're partnered with the miscreation of your ego. When you're out trying to find ways to obtain the things that you were freely given and come included with your design. You've been obsessing and stressing over how to keep your life together, and your life has always been kept by one within you that is greater than you. He tells us to be vague and open-ended when we're speaking so that others can run off with their misinterpretations of what we are saying. Robert Greene tells us to be ambiguous when we speak. He tells us to be vague. He tells us to be open-ended. He tells us to leave room for other people to run off with misinterpretations of what we're saying so that we can remain a mystical, mysterious creation, so that we can mislead others into thinking that we're more powerful and that we're more intimidating than we actually are. And my question to you is, in a world where there is no harm or no hurt that can come to you, why is it that you feel the need to intimidate and present yourself as more powerful than other people? Why is it that you will abandon the pursuit of your purpose and stop extending yourself and stop operating as the entity of love that you were created to be, to intimidate another creation of God who was intended to be an extension of love? Why is it that the error in another person is often your spoken motivation to exhibit and express the error that you carry? Could it be that this person is not inspiring by their actions, that you're having a negative reaction to the negative contents that you so often exhibit quickly? Maybe your judgment of them applies to you, and when they operate from a place of ugliness, wickedness, bitterness, and evil, you stand ready to retaliate in a greater partnership of bitterness, wickedness, evil, and the pursuit to harm and destroy one that God sustains. Listen, every war was once a misunderstanding. Every misunderstanding once could have been reconciled with effective communication. But with the absence of effective communication, oftentimes subtle misunderstandings erupt into physical disputes that often lead to wars. And you've been at war all of your life. You be watching CNN and trying to like skip past the news channel real quick, but catch a piece of it, because you're always worried about America going to war, as if your life, every day you have waken up under the impression that your ego is who you are, your body is what must be protected, that you have not experienced the constant battlefield and expression of war that you've been calling life. And you've been trying to pretend and make other people feel like has value and substance that they're missing out on by not being a part of it and not treating you in such a way that causes you to esteem them and want them to be around and flatter them with your words and your actions so that they'll stay close. Ivory Scott said in his single that a lot of people are singing along with right now and partnering with, seeing a ton of value for themselves. God, don't give me who I want. Give me who I need. And to be honest, if God were to give you who you needed while you were partnered with your ego that longs for external relationships to make you feel special and to make you feel desired and make you feel accomplished by meeting the markers that are set by your companion, if you were really given who you needed, you would be given none other than the presence of I Am that has always been with you and has often been neglected as you walked around and looked for love in all the wrong places. That person that you need is not a spouse. That person that you need is not a bestie. The person that you need is on the inside of you, being often ignored, remaining dormant and asleep. If you know like I know, you'll learn how to say more than seems necessary. You'll learn how to tell people more often than seems needed how much you care, how special they are, how perfectly made and abundant they are. There's no such thing as telling someone too much of the truth, but there is a such thing as lying without speaking. If I see you or know that you are partnering with a lie for yourself and I don't open my mouth, then I have enforced and partnered with you in this lie that you carry about yourself. And I was created and chose myself to come down into the physical plane to have an impact. I wanted to help. Help with what? The delusional state of God's creations. How do I do that? By effectively communicating God's truth. I can't do that being ambiguous. I can't do that being silent, trying to be intimidating and trying to present myself as powerful so that others don't approach me or don't come at me in a way that is hurtful or causes me to become filled with rage and reactionary. See, you have been so handicapped by your emotions and your knee-jerk reactions, by your flip mode and sporadic mouth and hands, and because you know that you have operated with a lack of control in the past, you have gridlocked yourself. You have placed yourself in a box that has become a terrible discomfort. You don't say the things that you know need to be said because you're in your head thinking about what the reaction or response would be. You don't want to be misinterpreted. You don't want to be misunderstood. You have a fear that the person that you are speaking to won't understand you before you speak, so you say nothing. And it's a guarantee that the person that you say nothing to doesn't understand you. You might as well run the risk, but you can learn how to suppress those reactions. You can learn how to read your emotions and how to channel them in positive ways that lead you to truthful moments of acknowledgement and awareness for yourself. That way you're not tied up judging another person. And then you can effectively communicate the truth with a gentle tongue that does not lead the person that you're talking to fury and wrath. Be thorough. Be effective when you communicate. Tell people how you feel. If they don't want to listen to how you feel, then they don't care to be partnered with you. Stop partnering with people who have no interest in you. Stop going around them people who want to use your talents and gifts but have absolutely no interest in the development and the progression of your partnership with I am and your abandonment and crucifixion of the ego. Get from around them people who don't want you to develop and don't want you to grow because they know they won't be able to use you the way that they have in the past. Get rid of them people who don't want you to know your true identity so that they can continue to treat you in a way that is less than sufficient and sufficing of one who is royalty. Get rid of them people. Get from around them people that you partnered with when you thought you needed other people to be okay, because now those are the people who enforce the idea that there is something wrong with you that they cover and you need them. So you better not leave and you better not disobey. Understand, we can only have one master. You got to stop serving all of these people who are serving their illusionary egos and who can't settle on what it is they want. And they got you jumping through hoops as you run in circles. Everything you do is leading you nowhere except for back where you began. After you jump through the hoops, they're still not satisfied. You find yourself dissatisfied. You disconnect. You reconnect with someone else. You run the same process all over again. And you are back where you started every single time. Be open and honest so that you can eliminate these people who are not equally yoked with you and not in the process and pursuit of purpose and being an extension of love